Muslims worldwide commemorate the night journey and Mi'raj, or ascension, of the Prophet Muhammad. According to the most popular Muslim understandings of this event, the Prophet Muhammad miraculously traveled by means of a winged horse from the sacred mosque in Mecca to the site of the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. Subsequently, the Prophet was carried by this horse named Burak up the seven heavens until he had a direct encounter with God himself. Many Muslims and non-Muslims today have great difficulty accepting this version of the Mi'raj story. Some people even ridicule it.
That's your view. I'm fascinated by how somebody, a respected, sophisticated journalist in the 21st century, can believe that a prophet flew to heaven on a winged horse.
However, there do exist within Islam more philosophical and mystical understandings of the Prophet's Mi'raj. For example, the Shi'a Ismaili Muslims reject the idea of the Prophet's Mi'raj and night journey being a bodily and spatial event. The 48th Ismaili Imam, Sultan Muhammad Shah Aga Khan III, once said, "You must have also heard about the Mi'raj of the Holy Prophet. People say that he rode on a horse up to the heavens and that was his Mi'raj. This is the foolish idea of the masses. God does not only dwell in heaven, he is to be found everywhere. The night of Mi'raj is the one in which the Prophet revisited his original abode." In the Ismaili tradition, we find an extremely rich Neoplatonic understanding of the Mi'raj of the Prophet Muhammad. The Ismaili Dai Al-Qadi Al-Nu'man reports that a person once approached the 14th Ismaili Imam, Maulana al-Muiz, and asked the Imam to explain the meaning of the Prophet's night journey mentioned in the Holy Quran. Glory be to him who made his servant to go by night from the sacred masjid to the farthest masjid, of which we have blessed the precincts so that we may show him some of our signs. The questioner specifically asked the Ismaili Imam about the true meaning of the sacred place of prostration, al-Masjid al-Haram, and the furthest place of prostration, al-Masjid al-Aqsa. The Ismaili Imam al-Muiz answered as follows: "The sacred masjid is the universal soul, and the farthest masjid is the universal intellect." According to this interpretation from the Ismaili Imams, the Prophet's night journey and Mi'raj was not a physical or bodily journey from Mecca to Jerusalem. In reality, it is the Prophet who underwent a spiritual journey from the universal soul, called Masjid al-Haram, to the universal intellect, called Masjid al-Aqsa. In Ismaili philosophical theology, the universal intellect is the first and greatest creation of God in the spiritual world, and the most perfect of all created entities. The universal soul is the second creation of God that comes into existence through the universal intellect. God has created all things, including the spiritual and material worlds, through the universal intellect and the universal soul, which are his two greatest creations. According to the Ismaili philosopher Nasir al-Khosrow, all human beings must return to the universal intellect. The particular souls must return to their universal soul, and that universal soul must return to the universal intellect, because of whom it exists. As God said in the Quran, "Verily, to us is their return, and upon us is their reckoning." These two, the intellect and the soul, are the hierarchical ranks, darajat, towards God, which are also mentioned in the Quran. Likewise, the Ismaili philosopher Abu Hatim ar-Razi taught that the Mi'raj of the Holy Prophet Muhammad was a spiritual ascent in which the Prophet was elevated from unification with the universal soul to unification with the universal intellect, which is the furthest Aqsa of the spiritual hierarchy. What about this mythical horse known as Burak Again, the Ismaili philosopher Abu Hatim al-Razi observes that the Arabic word burak is derived from the Arabic verb baraka, which means to illumine or to shine. This is because burak is not a physical horse at all. Burak refers to the spiritual illumination or enlightenment that emanates from the universal intellect and the universal soul. This spiritual illumination, which shined upon the soul of the Prophet, enabled Muhammad's soul to unify and conjoin with the universal intellect. Thus, the Prophet's Miʿraj, or ascension, was not a bodily rising through the physical heavens or the skies. In reality, it was a spiritual ascent of his perfect soul to the highest rank of the universal intellect, which is God's most perfect creation. In reality, according to Ismaili philosophical principles, the soul of the Prophet cannot and does not have a direct experience of God, because God is absolutely transcendent and absolutely limitless. And there is, in the Sunni Hadith literature, the idea that God's essence is veiled by a veil of light, and nobody can actually experience a direct vision of God's essence. According to the Ismaili philosophers Abu Yaqub as-Sijistani and Nasir al-Khosrow, the Prophet's Mi'raj to the universal intellect also marks the point when the Prophet attained the religious and spiritual rank of a law-giving prophet, or a Natiq, who has the divine authority to command and forbid on behalf of God. This marked a turning point in the prophetic career of Muhammad. As the historians Walid Saleh and Nikolai Sinai have already noted in their published work, Muhammad in the Meccan period only functioned as a warner and a giver of news. He was a mere messenger during the Meccan period, but in the Medinan period of his mission, following his Mi'raj, the status of Prophet Muhammad became increasingly elevated in the Quran to that of a lawgiver and a deputy of God who commands, forbids, judges, and intercedes with divine authority.